In this Shopify versus Etsy comparison, I'm going to walk you through the key pros and cons of using these two popular e-commerce platforms to sell online. In case we haven't met yet, I'm Matt Walsh from Style Factory. At Style Factory, we review and compare popular e-commerce platforms and help you decide which one is right for you. To get all our latest e-commerce content, feel free to hit the subscribe button. Okay, let's begin our comparison with a look at the key difference between Shopify and Etsy. Shopify and Etsy are huge players in the e-commerce world, but although both services can put your products in front of a large audience, they are very different. Shopify is a tool that lets you create your very own online store. By contrast, Etsy is an online store, and a very big one at that, with over 96 million customers each year. When you sell on Shopify, it's like renting a space in which to set up your own shop. But using Etsy is more like selling your goods in a huge supermarket. With Shopify, you'll have more work to do to set things up the way you want and to find customers. However, you'll have total control over every aspect of your store. You can decide how your brand is presented, what your storefront looks like, how you market your products, how you capture data, and what languages to present your content in. With Etsy, the customer base is already there, but so is your competition. To continue with the supermarket analogy, having a storefront on Etsy is like having some shelf space in a supermarket aisle. Lots of people will walk past it, but will they reach out for one of your products or choose a similar one from a different shelf? Now, both ways of selling have their advantages and disadvantages, and in the rest of this Shopify versus Etsy comparison, I'm going to spell the key ones out for you. I'll start with the key reasons to use Shopify over Etsy. 1. Shopify is a better option for merchants who need a fully featured, standalone store. When you sell on Etsy, you are fairly limited in terms of how you can present your business. Although the platform does let you make a few basic customizations to your storefront, it doesn't really let you create a truly distinct shopping experience. By contrast, Shopify gives you a lot of control over your brand and user experience. A wide range of web design templates is available, and these can be extensively edited to match your branding requirements. Now, it should be pointed out that Etsy does actually provide a tool for creating a standalone store too. It's called Pattern by Etsy, and it does give you more control over your brand and user experience. However, by comparison to Shopify, its feature set is very limited. Shopify gives you much more sophisticated tools for selling online, including advanced multilingual and multi-currency features, email marketing tools, abandoned cart saving, and more. 2. Shopify lets you sell anything. Etsy is very restrictive when it comes to the products you can list in its marketplace. You can only sell handmade items, vintage goods, craft supplies, and digital products. By contrast, Shopify lets you sell pretty much anything, so long as it's legal to do so in your country of operation. 3. Shopify is much better for dropshipping. Dropshipping is a way of selling goods where you don't make, store, or fulfill any products. You take an order via your online store, send it to a supplier, and they deliver the goods to your customer. Although you can technically dropship with either Shopify or Etsy, Shopify is a much better platform for this type of online selling, and in many ways has been designed with it in mind. With Shopify, you can connect your store easily to a huge number of dropshipping apps and suppliers. Additionally, Shopify gives you access to a special dropshipping starter kit. This bundles an extendable free trial of the platform with lots of useful resources on how to create a successful dropshipping business. There's a link to the starter kit in the video description. By contrast, the options for dropshipping are fairly limited on Etsy. You can use print-on-demand apps like Printify or Printful in conjunction with Etsy, but that's about it. 4. Transaction fees are much lower with Shopify. Transaction fees are considerably lower with Shopify than Etsy, and you can avoid them entirely if you use Shopify's built-in payment processor, Shopify Payments. If you don't use Shopify Payments, Shopify will charge you a transaction fee on each sale of between 2.5% and 2.9%. This still compares very positively with the Etsy transaction fee, which at 6.5% is over double the Shopify rates. 5. Shopify is much better for point-of-sale applications. Point-of-sale features let you sell goods not just online, but in physical locations too. For example, retail outlets, market stalls, and pop-up stores. Shopify is a market leader when it comes to point of sale, giving you the hardware and software to make selling in physical locations really easy, and all while keeping your offline and online sales data perfectly in sync. Although an integration with Square does technically allow you to use Etsy in some point of sale contexts, this is restricted to use in certain countries. Furthermore, Etsy doesn't give you access to the wide range of selling hardware that Shopify provides. So those are our key reasons to sell on Shopify rather than Etsy. But when can Etsy be the better choice? I'll come to that in just a moment, but before I do, I'd just like to say that if you're interested in using either platform, you'll find links to all the latest trials and offers for both in the video description. Please note that some of these are affiliate links. If you buy through these, we may receive a commission at no extra cost to you. Okay, let's move on to the reasons to use Etsy over Shopify. 1. Etsy gives you a ready-made customer base. If you're looking for a ready-made customer base, Etsy is the winner in a Shopify versus Etsy shootout. Because it has over 96 million customers, having a storefront on Etsy technically puts your goods in front of a large audience right away. That's not to say that you can expect a huge rush of customers as soon as you start selling on Etsy, but your products will be immediately available on a very popular online marketplace. But when you set up a Shopify store, you'll need to build your own customer base. Because of this, you'll need to put a lot of effort into search engine optimization, content marketing, online advertising, and online PR in order for a Shopify store to start gaining visibility and customers. This can be an expensive and time-consuming process. 2. With Etsy, you don't have to worry about web design. When you sell on Etsy, you're simply listing your products on an existing online marketplace. With Shopify, however, you're building an entirely new website. You'll have to become comfortable with web design tasks like customizing themes, writing search-friendly content, creating web pages, and managing domains. All this means that you'll encounter a bit of a learning curve from Shopify that arguably isn't there on Etsy. 3. Etsy's audience is great for selling handmade, vintage, and craft items too. If you are aiming to sell handmade, vintage, or craft-related items, then Etsy can be a really terrific platform for you. It's a well-known and popular destination for people who want to buy exactly these sorts of products. So if you're selling them, it's a fantastic source of visitors with a ready-to-buy mentality. 4. Etsy gives you more SEO opportunities. A key thing to note about Etsy stores is that, unlike those created with Shopify, they give merchants 2 search engine optimization opportunities. This is because you can optimize your Etsy store not just for Google, but for Etsy's own search engine too. This means that technically, an Etsy store gives you more search audiences than a Shopify one and a larger pool of potential customers. It also lets you de-risk your business by making you less reliant on one main source of search traffic. 5. There are no monthly fees to worry about with Etsy. Unless you're using Etsy's pattern product to sell products online, there's no monthly fees to worry about. You only get charged a fee by Etsy when you sell a product. By contrast, all Shopify plans involve monthly fees, and if you need to use one of its more advanced plans, these can be quite considerable. In short, there are less upfront costs and risks when you use Etsy. So those are the main advantages that we think Etsy has over Shopify. To sum things up, we'd argue that the main advantage of using Shopify instead of Etsy is the higher level of control you get over your brand and your business. And the main advantage of using Etsy is the ready-made market it gives you, a market that will be particularly useful to you if you sell vintage, handmade, or craft items. But although this comparison has so far looked at the differences between Shopify and Etsy, it's important to note that you don't have to use these platforms in a mutually exclusive way. There are a lot of apps available in the Shopify App Store that let you sell on both Shopify and Etsy at the same time. This gives you the best of both worlds, and ultimately, by having a presence on both Shopify and Etsy, you're giving yourself considerably more ways to grow your online business. I hope you've enjoyed our Shopify versus Etsy comparison, but there are lots more pros and cons of both platforms to discover. To learn more about these, check out the full Shopify versus Etsy comparison on the Style Factory website. You'll find details for this in the video description, along with links to all the latest offers for Shopify and Etsy. To get all our latest e-commerce advice, please do subscribe to our channel and click the notifications bell. And finally, if you have any questions about Shopify versus Etsy, just leave them in the comments section. We read them all and will do our best to help.